Good evening. This is my final project presentation for Seminar in Finance. Please excuse my attire. I am in Sumter, South Carolina, on vacation. I got all my thoughts and everything jotted down over here on the computer, so I will be looking back and forth. The topic over my project is a long-term budget neutral strategy to increase stock market participation among non-white households in the U.S. All right, I'm about to get started. All right. And again, my name is Draylon Cooke, and this is my final project for Seminar in Finance. The gap in racial wealth in the United States lies not only in the earnings of the population, but also in equity and determining involvement in the wealth creation mechanism like the stock market. The report of Pew Research in 2024 shows that resident white households own stock compared to a mere 39% of African Americans and 28% of Hispanic residents. Even with the stock ownership, there are significant differences between the value of stocks in the middle and the entire net worth, which is dramatic when measured across different individuals. Since it has been shown that the greater the stock market involvement, the higher the net worth accrued, white households, African American households, and Hispanic households, the white households are around like $285,000 a year. African American and Hispanics make around $44,900 to around $61,600 a year. It is imperative to develop a budget neutral strategic plan that will, over time, ramp up non-white stock market involvement. My discussion suggests the following triple strategy: the reform of financial education, and incentivized workplace savings program, and community investment support networks. The slight expense measures will save for money and less use of the social programs in later years. All right, financial literacy reform from early education. One of the root causes of small participation in the stock market is poor financial literacy. Financial expertise effectively determines access in complex financial markets. These people, which I'm referring to the non-whites, are poorly served by the current financial education system, which means they are more easily victims of short-term decision-making, and, they become less successful in the accumulation of assets. To be able to overcome this, the federal policy must require financial literacy programs starting in middle school and, later going into high school and then college, and covering investing, retirement planning, and compound interest and how money works. The Federal Department of Education can liaise with the Financial Literacy and Education Commission to develop some culturally relevant standard modules, that can be provided to different school districts with large percentages of minority students. These educational activities do not necessarily need federal funding. The expense will be covered through the current education grants, for instance, like Title I or Title IX funding, or with the help of private institutions and nonprofits, as well as banks interested in corporate social responsibility. In the long term, such an investment will limit the use of programs like Social Security and Medicaid because it will give them financial independence. All right, to expand auto-enrollment retirement plans with brokerage access. Retirement plans are often offered by the employer, such as 401k, and among the primary sources of investment in the stock market. And the rate of contribution by non-white workers is much lower, which is because the non-white workforce is disproportionately among jobs that do not provide with these opportunities. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that 72% of private industry workers and 89% of state and local government workers have access to medical care benefits. Furthermore, 43% of private industry workers and 60% of state and local government workers have access to dental benefits. For paid sick leave, 79% of private industry workers and 92% of state and local government workers are covered. The government ought to increase the coverage of auto-enrollment individual retirement accounts like IRAs, but with access to low-cost brokerage accounts. In this type of planning, employees without retirement or 401k, they can automatically participate in the IRA program organized by the government and funded out of payroll deductions unless the employee chooses to opt out of that option. I believe these investment choices of these accounts allow investing in index funds, which are similar to employee-based 401ks, but available to all workers equally and not only the employed. Such as like bipartisan proposals and like the Auto IRA Act and anything else that's similar to that, they don't require any new federal dollars. The savings can complement the savings on administrative costs in the future, and and other retirement programs such as like SNAP and housing assistance. And since more individuals can work and retire with self-funded assets during their retirement, moreover, auto enrollment enhances enrollment rates, especially for like low income earners. All right, finally, the expected long-term impact by this plan. Every component of a plan was not only developed to increase the stock market presence of non-white households, but also to achieve it in a cost-reasonable way. The effect of long-term investments will compound as more people participate, resulting in increased household net worth, improved retirement security, and decreased reliance upon expensive government programs like Medicaid, SSI, or public housing. For example, 10% of the African American and Hispanic households investing would have had a net worth of an additional $50K, resulting in the U.S. government saving billions in terms of expenditure on senior welfare over the next 30 years. Employees who cannot participate in an employer-based retirement plan will fail to accumulate any wealth and will likely end up on government handouts later, which is something nobody wants to do. In addition, expanding the stock market's liquidity through more people facilitates the economy's stability so that when the market slows down, there's no need to involve government programs in such a way the plan will overcome inequality and reduce macroeconomic resilience. So to kind of reflect, the long-term budget to increase stock market participation among white households is to have a financial literacy reform, which is to implement financial education and students and people that are underlooked and considered not deserving. Auto-enrollment individual retirement accounts, which expands access to stock investing, which are payroll and with workers for that doesn't have 401k, and also gives them like low income index funds options. And another one is community investment resources, which is creating local centers offering free investment education and coaching or digital tools in a community space to where people can learn how to do these things. And in conclusion, the lack of racial diversity in the stock market worsens the overall economic inequality and strains welfare programs. The U.S. government can help non-white households achieve generational wealth by introducing a long-term, budget-neutral financial education, easy-to-access IRA accounts, and community-based investments. Such as an approach will take many decades to achieve its full potential, but still it will also generate a high payoff to the fiscal and social sides of the equation, creating a more self-reliant community. The more Americans that can invest in the economy, the better it is for everyone, including the government. And that concludes my oral presentation for Seminar in Finance. This is my final project again, and the topic again was a long-term budget neutral strategy to increase stock market participation among non-white households in the United States. Thank you.